funeral cortege entering through the great west door is now in Westminster Abbey. All are standing, now moving slowly past the tomb of the unknown soldier once they step off.
Next is the bidding prayer, when the Dean of Westminster, the Very Reverend Dr. Wesley Carr, will invite the congregation to join together in prayer to give thanks for the life of Diana, Princess of Wales.
We are gathered here in Westminster Abbey to give thanks for the life of Diana, Princess of Wales, to commend her soul to Almighty God, and to seek his comfort for all who mourn. We particularly pray for God's restoring peace and loving presence with her children, the Princes William and Harry, and all her family. In her life, Diana profoundly influenced this nation and the world. Although a princess, she was someone for whom, from afar, we dared to feel affection, and by whom we were all intrigued. She kept company with kings and queens, with princes and presidents. But especially we remember her humane concerns and how she met individuals and made them feel significant. In her death, she commands the sympathy of millions. Whatever our beliefs and faith, let us with thanksgiving remember her life and enjoyment of it. Let us rededicate to God the work of those many charities that she supported. Let us commit ourselves anew to caring for others. And let us offer to him and for his service our own mortality and vulnerability.
If I should die and leave you here a while, be not like others, sore undone, who keep long vigils by the silent dust, and weep. For my sake, turn again to life and smile, nerving thy heart and trembling hand to do something to comfort other hearts than thine. Complete these dear unfinished tasks of mine, and I, perchance, may therein comfort you.
Time is too slow for those who wait, too swift for those who fear, too long for those who grieve, too short for those who rejoice. But for those who love, time is eternity.
Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, and have not love, I am become as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy, and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains, and have not love, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, and have not love, it profiteth me nothing. Love suffereth long, and is kind. Love envieth not, love vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up, doth not behave itself unseemly, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil, rejoiceth not in iniquity, but rejoiceth in the truth. Beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things. Love never faileth. But whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away. When I was a child, I spake as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. For now, we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know even as also I am known. And now abideth faith, hope, love, these three. But the greatest of these is love.
Goodbye, England's rose. May you ever grow in our hearts. You are the grace that placed yourselves where lives were torn apart. You called out to our country, and you whispered to those in pain. Now you belong to heaven, and the stars spell out your name. And it seems to me you lived your life like a candle in the wind, never fading with the sunset when the rain set in. And your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills. Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will. Loveliness we've lost, those empty days without your smile. This torch we'll always carry for our nation's golden child. Even though we try, the truth brings us to tears. All our words cannot express the joy you've brought us through the years. And it seems to me you've lived your life like a candle in the wind, never fading with the sunset when the rain set in. And your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills. Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will. Goodbye, England's rose. May you ever grow in our hearts. You were the grace that placed yourselves where lives were torn apart. Goodbye, English road, from a country lost without your soul, who missed the wings of your compassion more than you will ever know. And it it seems to me you've lived your life like a candle in the wind, never fading with the sunset when the rain set in. And your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills. Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will.
I stand before you today, the representative of a family in grief, in a country in mourning, before a world in shock. We are all united, not only in our desire to pay our respects to Diana, but rather in our need to do so. For such was her extraordinary appeal, that the tens of millions of people taking part in this service all over the world, via television and radio, who never actually met her, feel that they too lost someone close to them in the early hours of Sunday morning. It is a more remarkable tribute to Diana than I can ever hope to offer her today. Diana was the very essence of compassion, of duty, of style, of beauty. All over the world, she was a symbol of selfless humanity, a standard bearer for the rights of the truly downtrodden, a very British girl who transcended nationality, someone with a natural nobility who was classless, and who proved in the last year that she needed no royal title to continue to generate her particular brand of magic. Today is our chance to say thank you for the way you brightened our lives, even though God granted you but half a life. We will all feel cheated, always, that you were taken from us so young, and yet we must learn to be grateful that you came along at all. Only now you are gone do we truly appreciate what we are now without, and we want you to know that life without you is very, very difficult. We have all despaired at our loss over the past week, and only the strength of the message you gave us through your years of giving has afforded us the strength to move forward. There is a temptation to rush to canonize your memory. There is no need to do so. You stand tall enough as a human being of unique qualities, not to need to be seen as a saint. Indeed, to sanctify your memory would be to miss out on the very core of your being, your wonderfully mischievous sense of humor with a laugh that bent you double, your joy for life transmitted wherever you took your smile, and the sparkle in those unforgettable eyes, your boundless energy which you could barely contain. But your greatest gift was your intuition, and it was a gift you used wisely. This is what underpinned all your other wonderful attributes. And if we look to analyze what it was about you that had such a wide appeal, we find it in your instinctive feel for what was really important in all our lives. Without your God-given sensitivity, we would be immersed in greater ignorance at the anguish of AIDS and HIV sufferers, the plight of the homeless, the isolation of lepers, the random destruction of landmines. Diana explained to me once that it was her innermost feelings of suffering that made it possible for her to connect with her constituency of the rejected. And here we come to another truth about her. For all the status, the glamour, the applause, Diana remained throughout a very insecure person at heart, almost childlike in her desire to do good for others, so she could release herself from deep feelings of unworthiness, of which her eating disorders were merely a symptom. The world sensed this part of her character and cherished her for her vulnerability, whilst admiring her for her honesty. The last time I saw Diana was on July the 1st, her birthday, in London, when typically she was not taking time to celebrate her special day with friends, but was guest of honor at a fundraising charity evening. She sparkled, of course, but I would rather cherish the days I spent with her in March, when she came to visit me and my children in our home in South Africa. I am proud of the fact that, apart from when she was on public display meeting President Mandela, we managed to contrive to stop the ever-present paparazzi from getting a single picture of her. That meant a lot to her. These were days I will always treasure. It was as if we had been transported back to our childhood, when we spent such an enormous amount of time together, the two youngest in the family. Fundamentally, she hadn't changed at all from the big sister who mothered me as a baby, fought with me at school, and endured those long train journeys between our parents' homes with me at weekends. It is a tribute to her level-headedness and strength that despite the most bizarre life imaginable after her childhood, she remained intact, true to herself. There is no doubt that she was looking for a new direction in her life at this time. She talked endlessly of getting away from England, mainly because of the treatment that she received at the hands of the newspapers. I don't think she ever understood why her genuinely good intentions were sneered at by the media, why there appeared to be a permanent quest on their behalf to bring her down. It is baffling. My own and only explanation is that genuine goodness is threatening to those at the opposite end of the moral spectrum. It is a point to remember that of all the ironies about Diana, perhaps the greatest was this: a girl given the name of the ancient goddess of hunting was, in the end, the most hunted person of the modern age. She would want us today to pledge ourselves to protecting her beloved boys, William and Harry, from a similar fate. And I do this here, Diana, on your behalf. We will not allow them to suffer the anguish that used regularly to drive you to tearful despair. And beyond that, on behalf of your mother and sisters, I pledge that we, your blood family, will do all we can to continue the imaginative and loving way in which you are steering these two exceptional young men, so that their souls are not simply immersed by duty and tradition, but can sing openly as you planned. We fully respect the heritage into which they have both been born, and will always respect and encourage them in their royal role. But we, like you, recognize the need for them to experience as many different aspects of life as possible, to arm them spiritually and emotionally for the years ahead. I know you would have expected nothing less from us. William and Harry, we all care desperately for you today. We're all chewed up with sadness at the loss of a woman who wasn't even our mother. How great your suffering is, we cannot even imagine. I would like to end by thanking God for the small mercies he's shown us at this dreadful time, for taking Diana at her most beautiful and radiant, and when she had joy in her private life. Above all, we give thanks for the life of a woman I'm so proud to be able to call my sister, the unique, the complex, the extraordinary and irreplaceable Diana, whose beauty, both internal and external, will never be extinguished from our minds.
We give thanks to God for Diana, Princess of Wales, for her sense of joy and for the way she gave so much to so many people. Lord, we thank you for Diana, whose life touched us all, and for all those memories of her that we treasure. We give thanks for those qualities and strength that endeared her to us, for her vulnerability, for her radiant and vibrant personality, for her ability to communicate warmth and compassion, for her ringing laugh, and above all, for her readiness to identify with those less fortunate in our nation and the world. Lord of the loving, hear our prayer. We pray for those most closely affected by her death, for Prince William and Prince Harry, who mourn the passing of their dearly loved mother, for her family, especially for her mother, her brother, and her sisters. Lord, we thank you for the precious gift of family life, for all human relationships, and for the strength we draw from one another. Have compassion on those for whom this parting brings particular pain and the deepest sense of loss. Casting their cares on you, may they know the gentleness of your presence and the consolation of your love. Lord of the bereaved, hear our prayer. We pray for the members of the royal family, for wisdom and discernment as they discharge their responsibilities in the United Kingdom, the Commonwealth, and the world. Lord, we commend to you Elizabeth, our Queen, the members of the royal family, and all who exercise power and authority in our nation. Enrich them with your grace, that we may be governed with wisdom and godliness, so that in love for you and service to each other, we may each bring our gifts to serve the common good. Lord of the nations, hear our prayer. Diana was not alone in losing her young life tragically. We remember too her friend Dodi Fayed and his family, Henri Paul, and all for whom today's service rekindles memories of grief untimely born. Lord, in certain hope of the resurrection to eternal life, we commend to you all who have lost loved ones in tragic circumstances. Give them comfort, renew their faith, and strengthen them in the weeks and months ahead. Lord of the broken-hearted, hear our prayer. The Princess will be especially missed by the many charities with which she identified herself. We recall those precious images, the affectionate cuddle of children in hospital, her relationship with Mother Teresa, whose death we also remember today. That touch of the young man dying of AIDS, her compassion for those maimed through the evil of landmines, and many, many, many more. Lord, we pray for all who are weak, poor, and powerless in this country and throughout the world. The sick, among them Trevor Rees-Jones, the maimed, and all whose lives are damaged. We thank you for the way that Diana became a beacon of hope and a source of strength for so many. We commend to you all those charities that she supported. Strengthen the resolve of those who work for them to continue the good work begun with her. Lord of the suffering, hear our prayer. And now abideth faith, hope, love, these three. But the greatest of these is love. As we reflect on the princess's compassion for others, we pray that we too may be inspired to serve as she served. Lord, we thank you for Diana's commitment to others. Give us the same compassion and commitment. Give us a steadfast heart, which no unworthy thought can drag down, an unconquered heart, which no tribulation can wear out, an upright heart, which no unworthy purpose can tempt aside. Grant us, O Lord, understanding to know you, diligence to seek you, wisdom to find you, and a faithfulness that may bring us to your eternal kingdom. Lord of the compassionate, hear our prayer. Therefore, confident in the love and mercy of God, holding a living faith in God's mighty resurrection power, we, the congregation here, those in the streets outside, and the millions around the world, join one another and the hosts of heaven as we say together in whatever language we may choose, the prayer which Jesus taught us, saying together, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. The God of peace, who brought again from the dead our Lord Jesus, that great shepherd of the sheep, make you perfect in every good work to do his will. And the blessing of God Almighty, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit be with you and all you love, now and forevermore. Amen.
Let us commend our sister Diana to the mercy of God, our Maker and Redeemer. Diana, our companion in faith and sister in Christ, we entrust you to God. Go forth from this world in the love of the Father who created you, in the mercy of Jesus Christ who died for you, in the power of the Holy Spirit who strengthens you. At one with all the faithful, living and departed, may you rest in peace and rise in glory, where grief and misery are banished, and light and joy evermore abide. Amen.
At the conclusion of the anthem, From Shore to Shore in Great Britain, there will be a moment of silence. muffled bells are designed to indicate a solemn moment of mourning. Leather holders have been put around the clappers to create this sound. In many places in Great Britain last week, people awakened on Sunday and heard this very sound in their communities, and that's when they knew something was wrong, those who had not heard about what happened in Paris Saturday night. If every signal moment in Great Britain's fabled history becomes the granted of precedent, mark down this day. The Reverend Jonathan Jennings of the Church of England is watching what you and I are watching.
Yes, this is the car going through the arch at Horse Guards Parade. It'll emerge into bright sunshine in just a moment. The waiting crowds watching Diana Princess of Wales make her last journey from London to her ancestral home and her last resting place.
The applause we have heard as the car bearing the body of Diana, Princess of Wales, a very extraordinary yet refined and restrained expression of adoration here in London. Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, with Queen Elizabeth, as they now slowly move away from Westminster Abbey. The coffin bearing the remains of Diana, Princess of Wales, now slowly begins to leave the area of Westminster Abbey for the drive to Diana's ancestral home at Anthrop in Northamptonshire. The corrected pronunciation, as the Prime Minister leaves too, is Althrop. First Lady Hillary Rodham. We just saw a glimpse of First Lady Hillary Rodham Clinton and Queen Noor of Jordan. At Whitehall, we now call in Martin Savage.
Bernie, the sounds of Westminster and the service that came rolling down the streets echoed off the famous facades here, and it reverberated in the hearts of many people. It was as if they were in the cathedral themselves. Roger, what did you think of the service?
Well, I have to say that I don't think there are words that can describe my feelings. This is the saddest day of my life, and well, I think that every now and again a person comes along that touches our lives, and we've just said goodbye to one.
The Prime Minister coined the phrase the people's princess, and now today he seems to have spoken the words of the people. He was very moving in what he said.
Yes, we are very touched by his speech. I think that although she was English, we have to recognize that she was a princess that belonged to the world. And I'm happy about that.
Judith, what were your thoughts on the service today?
It's a very fitting tribute to someone who put an awful lot of work into this country. I think she had a lot of problems with the royal family, and I think this was a very fitting tribute to her, and I think it must have cost them for it, which I'm glad about.
And let me move on and ask one more. I saw you at times, there were tears in your eyes.
I mean, it's just so emotional. There aren't enough words to just express, I think, how not only myself, but how everybody that has been here today and throughout the world are probably feeling. I mean, for me, I just couldn't hold back the tears.
Tell the children, what do they think?
I was really upset that she died. I was heartbroken. She was a really nice lady.
Did it help to see her, to be able to say goodbye?
Yeah. When the carriage went past her in it, I said, bye, Diana.
Thank you. Bernie, back to you.
Now let's move along the cortege route at St. James's Palace. Fionnuala Sweeney.
Thank you, Bernie. Well, the hearse carrying the remains of Princess Diana just passed by St. James's Palace just moments ago. And with me now are Hazel and Dennis Laurie, and they were watching the hearse go by and were able to hear the funeral on loudspeakers here at the Mall. What are your thoughts now, Dennis?
It was a very, very moving service. We were very lucky in that we once met Princess Diana. Several years ago we had lunch with her, and we found her a tremendous person with great personal warmth and that unique ability to relate to the ordinary person as well as being very regal and royal herself. And the service today was, especially the service from Earl Spencer, was very, very appropriate.
Hazel, this perhaps knowing Diana Spencer, having met her, would probably explain why you were quite upset, more upset than most people during this funeral service.
I just found it so moving. The music, particular pieces of music, I just found so moving.
A lot of people got very upset when they heard Elton John sing.
Yes, that was just wonderful. So emotional.
When you met Diana, what did she bring to you? What do you think made her so special?
She was almost so ordinary. I mean, I held her in awe, but we sat opposite each other just across the table having a meal with many others. I mean, it wasn't it was a private meal, but there were several people there. And she just spoke to me as a normal person would, and I felt I could speak to her quite normally, you know, not hold her in awe. And she was laughing and joking and just such a natural person. And the warmth just comes out, you know. She's lovely.
So, thank you very much, Dennis and Hazel. Larry, thank you for talking to us. Bernie.
Thank you, Fionnuala. As the hearse moves beneath the arch, outside Buckingham Palace, Richard Blystone.
Bernie, the hearse has just passed here a few minutes ago, drawing applause from those among the 10,000 or so people here who could see it. I'm here with one of those 10,000 faces in the crowd, Lynn Marshall, who had to walk halfway across town to get here this morning. Lynn, how was it? Were you content to be one of the faces in the crowd, in this crowd, on this day?
I was very happy to be one of the crowd today. Very happy.
Do you think this... Go ahead.
I wanted to show my respect, and that's why I took the trouble of coming today.
The various gestures and the services and the observances that make you feel you got what you needed and wanted.
That's what I wanted, Jess, and to come and say, for the respect and to say my goodbyes and to see everybody here as well in person.
I see you wearing the black ribbon, which many people are wearing today. What does that mean to you?
It means as well, I'm wearing it out of respect, and the money is also going to the charities that Diana wanted to help, and hopefully I've helped, and I hope many other people buy them too.
Were you among those who were irritated or annoyed at the Queen for not doing something sooner to express her solidarity with the people, and do you feel better about her now?
At the beginning of the week, I thought it was very wrong, but now I understand after her speech yesterday that obviously she needed to be time with her family to get over the grief.
Thank you, Lynn. Just one face in a crowd of many faces, but not so very different from all of them. Bernie?
Thank you, Richard. 75 miles between London and Northamptonshire and Diana's ancestral home of Othrop. Christopher Hancock, a master of protocol and ceremonies, is in our London studio. Christopher, what must be going through your mind?
Words can't be found to express what one feels, I think, is the short answer. Watching it from professional, in quotes, point of view, there were many interesting aspects, but the service was very much built on the foundations that have been laid down in the past, and it reflected Diana. It was a unique funeral for a unique person. I must admire Earl Spencer for a first-class address, and also I was slightly amused there was a little tap for the royal family over the HRH and also over the business of they were not going to let go of the princes. He emphasised at the end they were giving a declaration, the Spencer family, to Diana, that they would watch over the boys as much as the royal family, and I think that was completely right. The one thing I am a little surprised over is the speed with which the hearse drew away with one car following, containing the Prince of Wales and his two sons, but there was no sign of a car for the Spencer family, which rather surprised me. But a wonderful service, beautiful words, beautiful music, and a fitting tribute for a very beautiful woman who's changed everyone's outlook on life, I think.
Nicholas Davies, you wrote the biography entitled Diana.
What has surprised me by the tribute from her brother Charles Althorp to Diana was not only the wonderful words he spoke about her, which we knew he would, but the bitter attacks that he made through that tribute. There were 3 cheers outside amongst the crowd that were listening as the speech was relayed. And the 3 cheers came up. One, when Lord Spencer attacked the royal family, and 2, where he derided the paparazzi and the tabloid press. The 3rd and the biggest cheer came when he said he would do all his power to protect Wills and Harry from the tabloid press and the paparazzi. Those are warnings, A, to the royal family, and B, more importantly, to the media.
Diana is being taken to her ancestral home back here outside Westminster Abbey. Brent Sadler.
Thanks, Bernie. We are witnessing more than an event. We're taking part in an experience here, deeply moving and unforgettable. Tony Sharple, as you were watching what happened here outside the Abbey, your reaction?
I was really moved. I was choked up. I still am a bit now. I thought it signified all she meant to everybody. The speeches were right, they hit the right mark. And Elton John's song was, I mean, there was tears in my eyes, and even men round me, like there were tears in the men's eyes, never mind the women.
Do you feel it is more an experience than just a spectacular event?
It's something I would never miss. It's something I always remember.
What about Earl Spencer's tribute to his sister, the points he made about protecting the princess from the paparazzi in the future?
I hope that happens. I hope they grow to be something like their mother. And I mean, William does. He looks a spit image of his mother now, doesn't he? I just wish them all the best, and that they can grow up as a modern royal. I love the royal family. I served in the army for 9 years, but things have got to change. It's got to be more modern. to keep town with the people.
The Earl touched on the raw nerve of the nation, didn't he? Hitting on the moral standards of a tabloid press that had been obsessed with Diana in her lifetime. Do you think people are going to listen to these words after today?
Yes, because I'll take it, what the press say, with a pinch of salt. You pick one paper up, say there's accidents, 9 dead in one, 10 in another, all different circumstances, all different.
So you agree with what the Earl said?
I agree with entirely with what
Tony
he said.
Sharples, thanks very much. Back to you, Bernie.
Thank you, Brent Sadler. As his sister's body moves through the streets of London, en route home to a place that he knows so very, very well, Charles, the 9th Earl Spencer, still being thought of, his words still reverberating in the minds of people perhaps around the world who heard this tribute to Diana, Princess of Wales.
I stand before you today, the representative of a family in grief, in a country in mourning, before a world in shock. We're all united, not only in our desire to pay our respects to Diana, but rather in our need to do so. For such was her extraordinary appeal, that the tens of millions of people taking part in this service all over the world, via television and radio, who never actually met her, feel that they too lost someone close to them in the early hours of Sunday morning. It is a more remarkable tribute to Diana than I can ever hope to offer her today. Diana was the very essence of compassion, of duty, of style, of beauty. All over the world, she was a symbol of selfless humanity, a standard bearer for the rights of the truly downtrodden, a very British girl who transcended nationality, someone with a natural nobility who was classless, and who proved in the last year that she needed no royal title to continue to generate her particular brand of magic. Today is our chance to say thank you for the way you brightened our lives, even though God granted you but half a life. We will all feel cheated, always, that you were taken from us so young, and yet we must learn to be grateful that you came along at all. Only now you are gone do we truly appreciate what we are now without, and we want you to know that life without you is very, very difficult. We have all despaired at our loss over the past week, and only the strength of the message you gave us through your years of giving has afforded us the strength to move forward. There is a temptation to rush to canonize your memory. There is no need to do so. You stand tall enough as a human being of unique qualities, not need to be seen as a saint. Indeed, to sanctify your memory would be to miss out on the very core of your being, your wonderfully mischievous sense of humor with a laugh that bent you double, your joy for life transmitted wherever you took your smile, and the sparkle in those unforgettable eyes, your boundless energy which you could barely contain. But your greatest gift was your intuition, and it was a gift you used wisely. This is what underpinned all your other wonderful attributes. And if we look to analyze what it was about you that had such a wide appeal, we find it in your instinctive feel for what was really important in all our lives. Without your God-given sensitivity, we would be immersed in greater ignorance at the anguish of AIDS and HIV sufferers, the plight of the homeless, the isolation of lepers, the random destruction of landmines. Diana explained to me once that it was her innermost feelings of suffering that made it possible for her to connect with her constituency of the rejected. And here we come to another truth about her. For all the status, the glamour, the applause, Diana remained throughout a very insecure person at heart, almost childlike in her desire to do good for others, so she could release herself from deep feelings of unworthiness, of which her eating disorders were merely a symptom. The world sensed this part of her character and cherished her for her vulnerability, whilst admiring her for her honesty. The last time I saw Diana was on July the 1st, her birthday in London, when typically she was not taking time to celebrate her special day with friends, but was guest of honor at a fundraising charity evening. She sparkled, of course, but I would rather cherish the days I spent with her in March, when she came to visit me and my children in our home in South Africa. I am proud of the fact that, apart from when she was on public display meeting President Mandela, we managed to contrive to stop the ever-present paparazzi from getting a single picture of her. That meant a lot to her. These were days I will always treasure. It was as if we had been transported back to our childhood, when we spent such an enormous amount of time together, the two youngest in the family. Fundamentally, she hadn't changed at all from the big sister who mothered me as a baby, fought with me at school, and endured those long train journeys between our parents' homes with me at weekends. It is a tribute to her level-headedness and strength that despite the most bizarre life imaginable after her childhood, she remained intact, true to herself. There is no doubt that she was looking for a new direction in her life at this time. She talked endlessly of getting away from England, mainly because of the treatment that she received at the hands of the newspapers. I don't think she ever understood why her genuinely good intentions were sneered at by the media, why there appeared to be a permanent quest on their behalf to bring her down. It is baffling. My own and only explanation is that genuine goodness is threatening to those at the opposite end of the moral spectrum. It is a point to remember that of all the ironies about Diana, perhaps the greatest was this. A girl given the name of the ancient goddess of hunting was, in the end, the most hunted person of the modern age. She would want us today to pledge ourselves to protecting her beloved boys, William and Harry, from a similar fate. And I do this here, Diana, on your behalf. We will not allow them to suffer the anguish that used regularly to drive you to tearful despair. And beyond that, on behalf of your mother and sisters, I pledge that we, your blood family, will do all we can to continue the imaginative and loving way in which you are steering these two exceptional young men, so that their souls are not simply immersed by duty and tradition, but can sing openly as you planned. We fully respect the heritage into which they have both been born, and will always respect and encourage them in their royal role. But we, like you, recognize the need for them to experience as many different aspects of life as possible, to arm them spiritually and emotionally for the years ahead. I know you would have expected nothing less from us. William and Harry, we all care desperately for you today. We're all chewed up with sadness at the loss of a woman who wasn't even our mother. How great your suffering is, we cannot even imagine. I would like to end by thanking God for the small mercies he's shown us at this dreadful time, for taking Diana at her most beautiful and radiant, and when she had joy in her private life. Above all, we give thanks for the life of a woman I'm so proud to be able to call my sister. The unique, the complex, the extraordinary and irreplaceable Diana, whose beauty, both internal and external, will never be extinguished from our minds.
Britain is placing for final rest one of its most esteemed daughters, Diana, Prince of Wales, now being borne by hearse through London's outer city limits. We saw seconds ago the tossing of flowers, and police authorities, especially between here, London, and Diana's ancestral home, are hoping that people on the overpasses will not do that. They also are hoping that motorists traveling in the opposite direction will not turn to look. Authorities here very, very concerned about accidents. Charles, Diana's brother, delivering the tribute beneath the vaulted walls of Westminster Abbey. Charles, the 9th Earl Spencer, his words reverberating throughout this capital. Let's go to Finola Sweeney at St. James's Palace.
Thank you very much, Bernie. And with me I have Maria Davey from Oxford and Louise and Judith Brennan, who are both from South London. Marie, you heard the speech that Earl Spencer gave along with everybody else here in the mall. What did you make of it?
I thought it was wonderful. It's sort of fitting tribute from a brother to a really loved sister, and I thought it was really good.
Do you think it hit the right note?
It did. It moved everybody that was in this crowd that was near me.
Louise, what did you think about what the Earl had to say about the paparazzi, for example?
I thought the likeness he made between Diana, the Greek stories about Diana, the way that she, the huntress, and the way he likened it to that Diana was the hunted. I thought it was a romantic, almost a romantic way of putting it, but it was so plain, and it was so nice, just not nice not to hear the fact that he didn't use the word paparazzi. It's nice to hear it in a way which was romantic yet clear. You knew what he meant by it, and you didn't need to hear the horrible word paparazzi or the words press that you always hear in the papers in London.
And Judith, if I can ask you, what did you make of what the Earl Spencer had to say about Diana? I think he used the words that she did not need a royal title in the last year of her life to do her job. Do you think he was having a little dig at the royal family?
Maybe, yes, I do think so. I always think it was a great tragedy that her title got taken away from her. But I think, sort of the work she did in her last year entitles her to that a million times over.
And also what he had to say about the princes. I mean, he made it quite clear, didn't he, towards the end of his speech, that he was going and his side of the family were going to maintain contact.
I think this would please many people, because I think one of the things that endeared Diana to people was the fact that she did take her sons to see ordinary people, how they lived, the down and outs, the people who are ill.
Which is generally a massive part of London and living in London. And she wasn't afraid to show it what hundreds of children and people see every day on the streets, but do not ever highlight,
She taught them what it was like to wait in a queue.
Yeah, she did. To take them to, to do normal things with them as well, like take them to the cinema.
Taking them to the amusement
She wasn't
park,
part of the establishment.
There we must leave it, but thank you very much, Marie, Louise and Judith. Thank you. Back to Bernie.
Thank you.
Bernie.
Thank you, Finola. Let's check in now with Martin Savage at Whitehall.
Earl Spencer touched many people. In fact, it reached them on a very common level. Kathleen, what do you think this will do as far as changes how people view now the media, especially the tabloids?
Well, if it hadn't have been for the tabloids, our Di would still be alive today.
You believe that quite
I
confirmed?
do believe it. I do believe it. That's all there is to say. She should be here with us, really, shouldn't she?
Do you share that same feeling, Wendy?
Really, yes.
Should there be a change now? Do you think people will change as far as what they're interested in? They've always had a strong interest in the royals.
Yes, they have, but there has got to be a change.
Right. Thank you both very much for joining us. Back to you, Bernie.
Okay, thank you very much, Martin Savage. In our London bureau, Ben Pumla, a biographer who has written so very much, and he's been watching what has been happening. Sir, your thoughts?
My thoughts are that it was a very extremely moving occasion, and I thought that Earl Spencer's speech was exquisitely crafted and struck just the right note. It was not a bland speech. He had some implied criticism, in a sense, for the whole royal establishment, but it was not bitter about the royal family. He did reserve, however, some bitterness, some intense bitterness, for the paparazzi and the media. But I thought it was a beautiful, almost poetic speech in its appraisal of Diana and its recognition of her complexity, as well as her kindness and compassion.
Mr. Pimlett, how difficult do you suppose it was for Queen Elizabeth to be in Westminster Abbey and to hear some of the words from Mr. Spencer which were quite tart.
I don't think that they were tart. I think that what he was trying to say was that Diana was a very informal person and a very direct and immediate one. And in a sort of way, he was claiming for the next generation, the children, the Spencer side of the family. He was saying that they belong to us as well as to the royal family and to the nation. They won't grow up and just be stuffy and remote. I don't think that that was a difficult thing for her to hear. I'm sure she won't feel that. I'm sure she won't feel any resentment. I'm sure her thoughts were those of grief and concern for her grandchildren and indeed for her son.
But how do you suppose his thoughts will go down with the royalists in this country?
I don't think anybody would have any objection to them, actually. I think that what he was saying was not that Diana lacked a sense of duty and lacked a sense of duty to the state, but that there are other sides to life and that those were important. And he was, in a sense, saying the direction in which the monarchy should go. I don't think that that was out of place or exceptional or likely to cause anybody any heartache.
Being a royal biographer, do you think what Earl Spencer said can in any way change this monarchy?
I think his words will be very carefully weighed and considered, just as the Queen's words last night will be weighed and considered. There is a great debate going on, in a sense, about the monarchy. What I think this occasion shows is the extent to which the British people, whether they're right or wrong is another matter, but the extent to which they are attached to and relate to the whole strange royal phenomenon. This is a very royal occasion. It's a very personal occasion as well. The two are combined.
And Britons who've been waiting for hours upon hours along the roadway leading out of London are now having their last opportunity to applaud, to look, to reflect, to salute, and yes, to toss what we see, flowers, which have so scented the air, not only here in London, but throughout this great country. Between London and Northamptonshire, 77 miles. Right now, the hearse bearing the body of Diana, Princess of Wales, is in North London. And Britons who have not seen her are anxiously awaiting the hearse as it moves along rather briskly. Brent Sadler is at Westminster Abbey.
Thanks, Bernie. Well, crowds are still packed around Westminster Abbey and behind in Parliament Square, but many people are now just beginning to slowly return home. No one here could fail to be moved by what they've seen and heard. It was Diana's brother, the Earl Spencer, who gave a moving, extraordinary and courageous tribute to his sister. The Earl touched the raw nerve of the nation and hit on the moral standards of a tabloid press obsessed with Diana throughout her lifetime. The Earl pledged that his family would work tirelessly to help protect Diana's sons, William and Harry, from the kind of media exposure to which their mother faced and endured. The crowds around the Abbey applauded, and they again showed their support when the Earl promised that the Spencer family would spare no efforts in helping the princes face up to life without their mother, a clear signal to the royal family that the Spencers do not want to be shut out. The funeral service and its content was more than a special event. It was an experience we all shared, deeply moving and totally unforgettable. Back to you, Bernie.
Brent, as your friend and colleague, I know you read people very, very well. The contrasts on the faces of the mourners and indeed their body English as they entered Westminster Abbey and as they left.
We saw outside the Abbey while the service was going on, people openly crying, sobbing, shaking with grief. Some people have brought hymn sheets with them and sang along to the hymns, and sang along particularly to the new version of Candle in the Wing, which was sung by Elton John. The scenes around the Abbey were just unforgettable. People stood, watched, listened intently, but it was Earl Spencer's moving tribute to Princess Diana that really did seem to shake up the crowd here, and that's why we saw the responses that we did. Bernie.
Thank you, Brent Sadler. We now continue watching the hearse bearing the coffin of Diana, Princess of Wales, in North London as it proceeds rather briskly now, passing the throngs along the roadway to the sound of heartfelt, genuinely heartfelt applause. All over the world, people are thinking, reflecting on what they've seen and heard that originated here from Westminster Abbey. Among various elements in this exalted ceremony, this exalted send-off for Princess Diana, was Elton John.
Goodbye, England's rose. May you ever grow in our hearts. You are the grace that placed yourselves where lives were torn apart. You called out to our country And you whispered to those in pain, now you belong to heaven, and the stars spell out your name. And it seems to me you lived your life like a candle in the wind, never fading with the sunset when the rain set in. And your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills. Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will. Loveliness we've lost, those empty days without your smile, this torch we'll always carry for our nation's golden child. Even though we try, the truth brings us to tears. All our words cannot express the joy you've brought us through the years. And it seems to me you've lived your life like a candle in the wind, never fading with the sunset when the rain set in. And your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills. Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will. Goodbye, England's rose. May you ever grow in our hearts. You were the grace that placed yourselves where lives were torn apart. Goodbye, English road, from a country lost without your soul, who missed the wings of your compassion more than you will ever know. And it seems to me you've lived your life like a candle in the wind, never fading with the sunset when the rain set in. And your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills. Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will.
The motorcade now has just entered Motorway 1, and this is the fast corridor to Diana's ancestral home in Northamptonshire. Back outside Buckingham Palace, Richard Blystone.
Hello, Bernie, and here with a bunch of red roses. Two Californians here for the funeral. Karen Stockman on your right and Lori Dalton, her daughter, on her left. That song we've just been hearing on CNN, you haven't, but you heard it earlier, Candle in the Wind. What do you think of that?
It really touched me. I remember Elton John from many years ago, and my daughter went to his concert in Los Angeles, and it touched me that this was about Diana, and my daughter's the same age as Diana.
Lori, what is your reaction?
Well, the song obviously was originally written for Marilyn Monroe, who I didn't really have much of an association with, being she died sort of before I.
Excuse me, I'm going to interrupt you a second.
My apology, Richard. I just wanted to tell our viewers that the cortege stopped briefly to clear from the windshield flowers, however lovingly thrown, which were obstructing the driver's vision. And police authorities along M1 for days have been saying they hope two things would not happen this afternoon. One, that people on the overpasses would not toss flowers, and two, that people in the opposite lane would not stop and turn and look at the cortege as it goes by. Richard, back to you outside Buckingham Palace.
Thanks, Bernie. Laura, you were saying, well, you were not the generation of Marilyn Monroe when that song was written.
No, but I am exactly the same age as Princess Diana, and it just seems so appropriate that that song was rewritten for her. And I think for me that was probably the most moving part of the service today. And it's just been fantastic to be here in a sad, ironic way to participate in this event that's probably the event of the century.
Let's move on to the left. Diane Davidson, you're a Briton.
That's right.
What did having that kind of a song in a service like that mean to you? Do you think it was appropriate? Is it the kind of thing perhaps that the royal family should be doing to update its image these days?
I feel it was certainly very appropriate to Diana. Somehow it was very ironic standing in front of Buckingham Palace with the sun shining, where normally people would have happy, smiling faces. And yet, of course, everybody was just moved to tears when that song came on. Even myself, the tears just rolled down our cheeks.
Do you feel that this day did for you what you hoped it would do?
I think so. I actually live in Germany, so I've been following it on international news, and it was only actually standing here in London that it really hit me. Yeah.
Thank you very much, ladies. Back to you, Bernie.
Thank you, Richard Blystone, outside Buckingham Palace. For all our viewers watching around the world, if for some reason you did not have an opportunity to hear and to see the funeral service for Diana, Princess of Wales, in just a very short while, we're going to replay it in its entirety. I am honored to have next to me someone who knew Princess Diana, and she is a sister of the journalistic cloth. Barbara Amiel is of the Daily Telegraph. Barbara, please bear with me. We're going to pause for just a moment, and when we come back, we want to hear your observation about a difference in generational mourning.
Thank you, Bernie.
Quite welcome. We'll return to London in just a moment. Please do not go away.